Perfect. Well, good morning. Buenos dias. My name is Patricio Gutierrez. I'm a corporate lawyer here in the U.S. I'm licensed in Texas, and my practice focuses primarily on representing foreign companies expanding towards the U.S. and foreign family offices investing in the U.S. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank EarthX, Hector, John, our president at AEM, Claudia, I've seen your heartless work. Thank you, Alejandra, for being a master of ceremonies, the whole board, and all of you here. Thank you so much. It is really a privilege of being able to moderate this fantastic panel. It's interesting times. We have two talented speakers today representing two incredible and iconic Mexican companies and brands who recently expanded towards the U.S., primarily Texas, and they'll be speaking more about the process of that expansion. And in the interest of time, I'm going to briefly introduce each speaker and read their bios, and then we'll directly dive into the conversation. I saw that Consul Paco transitioned between Spanish and English, so he opened the door for us to be able to do it as well. So I'll start off introducing Constantino Spas. He's the CEO of FEMSA, Proximity Americas, and Mobility. With over 30 years in the consumer goods industry, B2B, and retail, Constantino Spas has successfully led and transformed multiple businesses across different categories and regions. As CEO of FEMSA, Proximity Americas, and Mobility, he oversees the operations and regions, accelerated growth of C-stores and service stations across various markets in the Americas, serving millions of customers every single day. Some of his previous roles were CEO of FEMSA Strategic Business, CFO of Coca-Cola FEMSA, and made great impact in food and beverage companies such as Mavesa Group, Polar Enterprise in Venezuela, Kraft Foods, SAB Miller, and Bacardi in Latin America. Constantino holds an MBA from Emory University's Goizueta Business School. Thank you, Constantino. Let's give him a warm welcome and a round of applause. Now our second speaker is Mr. Ramon Soler, Commercial Director for Dr. Simi US, or Farmacias de Similares here in the US. Over the past 2 years, Ramon has played a key role in the US launch of Dr. Simi, contributing to the strategy, business model, and brand positioning for its expansion across multiple retail and digital channels. The initiative reflects a strong social and environmental focus rooted in the philosophy of lo mismo, pero más barato, helping those who need it most and fostering deep community connection. Previously, Ramon served as CEO of Krispy Kreme, Crate & Barrel, Tommy Hilfiger, and Gema in Mexico. He was also COO of Taco Holding and a board member for Krispy Kreme International, representing LATAM. He served on the board of Sin Delantal before its acquisition by Just Eat. Thank you, Ramon, and let's give him also a warm welcome and a round of applause. Bueno, vamos directo al grano. Tenemos 30 minutos. Queremos respetar los tiempos. The first topic is strategic expansion. Why Texas? First question for you, Constantino. OXXO's strategy wasn't just about opening a few stores. It was a major acquisition. And if I'm not mistaken, and based on my research, it was 249 DK stores and 90% in Texas. Why Texas? And why acquisition over organic growth?
Well, Patricio, first of all, thank you for having us here. Why Texas? Well, I was looking at an interesting data point that will help frame it. When you look at the projected demographic growth of Texas for the next till 2050, and if you look at Texas as if it were an isolated country, it would outpace all of the G20 economies. Wow. I think the projected growth is something like 58% or something like that. So it's a very rich market, rich in terms of resources, diversity of the population. I think Consul Paco made an interesting point there. And at the same time has a lot of projected growth. That's one element. Second element is that in the C-store business, Texas could be categorized as a C-store country, right? It's consumers in Texas like C-stores. So it's a perfect element for us as a ground platform for the OXXO expansion into the US. And third, out of many other rationales, the OXXO brand has significant brand equity in Texas because of the binational dynamic. So it was a fantastic starting point for us to start building our platform, which, by the way, is not only a vision of a Texas platform, but it's a vision of a significant player in the US.
And it's basically like a stepping stone, Texas.
Absolutely, yes.
For the rest of the US.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Constantino. And Ramon, now for you, your expansion is quite different. We're not talking about pharmacies as of now. But US headquarters in Austin and a consumer product strategy. Can you walk us through how and why you're approaching the US in that specific approach?
Yes, absolutely. Well, for us, it's a phased strategy market entry. It's a very complex market, no, especially in our sector. So first, we want to build out the foundation for the business. We want to start, we have a philosophy where in our group we like to think big, but we like to take steps really quickly, practically. We want to be practical. And so we believe of setting the foundation for then evolving and scaling the model. The first step is leveraging our own brands and playing in the over-the-counter sector and the wellness, the beauty, the supplement, that part, which is sort of easier setup than the prescription and other different models. No? So that's the first step. And we also, obviously, Texas, the why start here? Well, everything has been said. No? Paco walked us through all the benefits as Constantino. So we believe also starting here as a stepping stone to go out into the market. And also something we do is we start always with our foundation. Our business and our foundation are just one. No? And actually, our foundation started in Mexico 30 years ago. The business started 27 years ago. So the foundation was first. So we always have this philosophy about helping the people that need it most, and that is one of the main drivers for us. And we have a saying in the company that we help, and because of that we win, and because we win, we help, and that's part of our model. So we were starting like that. We started actually with our foundation first. We started helping with the hurricanes in Florida. We started helping with the fires in California. And so we have already started setting some of that foundation as well for Simi Planeta and for helping the community and setting the model to then evolve into understanding the opportunities. For us, it's important to come with conviction, with confidence, but also with eyes and all our senses open to learning, understanding how to transform our models, how to connect it with this market, and very, very open to learning, very open to understanding and connecting. No? That's very important for us.
And I see both on FEMSA and Farmacias Similares that they're very community-driven. Yo le voy al Club de Fútbol Monterrey. So I can see what they do for community service, for sustainability, same for farmacias. Vamos a la segunda temática, que es más de las diferencias culturales y operativas, ¿no? Al momento de entrar y ese shock que a veces puede ser cultural. Constantino, otra vez contigo, ¿no? You have publicly stated in the past, and open quote, our stores can be very close by, but given the traffic pattern, given the type of understanding that we have on the consumers, we could have two very different stores serving very different needs, close quote. OXXO's model is famously hyper-local, but expanding into Texas means entering a market with different consumer habits, regulatory norms, and expectations. What part of the OXXO playbook did not translate or did translate, and if it did not translate, how did you pivot?
Okay, so first of all, I think we can't talk about past tense. It's something that's happening
Correct.
As we speak, and it's a work in progress. I think that the most relevant element that I would like to share is part or the essential component of our model that translates into our mindset is humility. Right? Humility meaning when you enter a new market, you truly need to understand. First of all, you have to be cognizant of your operating model, of your business model, what has been successful in multiple countries in our case, because it's OXXO is not only Mexico. OXXO is Mexico, it's Brazil, it's Chile, it's Peru, it's Colombia for now. In all of these markets, we have iterations of a core business model. So having said that, we enter the market with tons of humility.
Correct.
We know there's many things we need to understand, and that's how we approach it. Before entering, we're also very rigorous on understanding market dynamics, competitors, consumer trends, market structure, et cetera. And then once we enter, and if we do it through an acquisition, we leverage on the value that that particular company has. Their team, their assets, their consumers, et cetera. And we put all of that together, and then we start operating. We counsel ourselves with experts in this particular region, in the case of Texas and New Mexico. It's basically our 249 store network as we speak. And we start learning, adapting, pivoting, and working towards a final model. So I think that is what we have at the core of what we do. So Saints, what has been transferred as of now and what hasn't worked is something that's very difficult to assess as we speak after basically 6 months of being operating here. Now, there's a clear difference, right? Most of our proximity retail model on OXXO is fuel-less. Right? So it's a neighborhood store that doesn't generate traffic through fueling in a gas station. The US market is mainly a fuel-driven C-store business. So that's essentially a very different component that requires a lot of understanding.
The convenience store is like secondary.
Well,
The fuel would be
I think that's an old, by the way, that's a great learning that we're having. That's an old paradigm when you look today of how consumers are driven into a C-store. Not necessarily all of the transactions are driven by the fuel. Right? So there's a lot of consumers that are going into the C-stores today because the value proposition of the C-store market has evolved significantly. For example, there's a lot of food, high quality food being established in a C-store today. We have formidable competitors. I think that's also an element that FEMSA is very proud of, being respectful of the quality of our competitors and understanding their value, right? So that is something that has been created throughout the last decade, and it's changing the C-store dynamics. So it's all about learning.
And humility, that was the key word that you said.
Yes. It doesn't matter how big and how strong you have been in one particular market. We are an organic growth machine. We add across our system globally about 5 new stores per day. And we've been doing that for decades, right, in Mexico. So it's an organic growth machine. Well, those elements don't necessarily translate directly to all geographies. So you have to be cognizant of that and respectful of the challenges that you confront in the new market.
Thank you, Constantino. Ramon, now to you. You know, Dr. Simi is one of the most beloved and recognizable brands in Mexico. We all know it. In the US, like we mentioned, you're leading with a somewhat different approach, focusing on brand identity, nostalgia, and consumer products. How are you bridging that iconic image with this new market strategy, especially for audiences that already know the brand and those that are meeting it for the first time?
Yeah, well, for us, Dr. Simi, you know, it has become something that is not anymore ours, it's the people's. No, it has become a cultural icon, and it's a symbol of kindness, of unity, of generosity. We take those values, our values, and that's part of how we are building everything. No? So we're always very true to our DNA as a group. And we know we can appeal, and we have this affinity and connection to this target, but we also appeal in new different ways to new audiences. No? For example, we're entering the market. We have made a partnership with the NHL, for example, no? And we do this different disruptive marketing where we're sponsoring some teams in the NHL, which is something not very usual. Then
Correct.
also we're going to be sending with Blue Origin, for example, to space the first Latin American teacher. Obviously with Dr. Simi with her, and we're going to do different things marketing-wise, but it's always connected with our values, with this high quality, the same for less model, and also the helping model, the impact within communities and within the planet. No? So I think that resonates with many audiences, not only the audiences that are, or know Dr. Simi from before. And leveraging some of the things that has made our brand and Dr. Simi viral lately, such as maybe some of you know the plush toys that they have been all over the stages with different concerts, and that's an amazing story because we do not own that factory. That's a factory in Puebla that started very small. Everyone that works there is almost everyone that works there is people with some kind of disability. And this factory has been growing because everything that we sell regarding these plush toys goes back to that factory. And now it's operating with more than 1,000 people with disabilities just from a very small factory. So I think all of this disruptive marketing, these ideas, and being really true to your values and your core, it's what can help us, connect with different audiences.
It's amazing. It's a very creative approach. And we should all learn how to be that creative and disruptive. Now let's focus on the third topic, and es la importancia de asesorarte, ¿no? Como decimos, boots on the ground, los asesores. Por ejemplo, sé que aquí está Glenn Hammer del Texas Association of Business, un excelente recurso. La AM, ¿no? Cuando una empresa mexicana quiere entrar al mercado, tienes que asesorarte, ¿no? de los que le saben en el país de origen, ¿no? Entonces, this question is for both of you. Expanding into the U.S. from Mexico isn't just about crossing a border and bringing your business. It means entering a completely legal, regulatory business environment, from zoning to product labeling, FDA compliance, liquor licenses, labor rules to corporate structuring. Everything changes. Can you both speak, and we'll start with you, Ramon, to the importance of surrounding yourselves with the right experts, whether it's a corporate lawyer, whether it's an international CPA that understands the tax treaties between Mexico and the U.S., economic development organizations, the consulate. How has that been a crucial and played a role in your expansion journey towards the U.S.? And Ramon, we'll start with you.
Well, we take this very, very seriously in our group. We like to comply very thoroughly with everything. And I think coming into the US, we have found our approach has been, leveraging, first of all, going into the institutions, institutions in Mexico, institutions in the US that, they have been so helpful with us. They have really connected us with the best experts. They have really connected us with different laboratories, all the people that we need, and it's amazing how either if it's the Consulate of Mexico, either if it's the Embassy in Mexico, if it's the Secretary of Commerce, everyone is really, so many people is working towards setting up companies for success and to drive this. No? So for us, it's really leveraging those connections, talking to those experts, and also I think it's about Constantino was talking about learning. I think it's developing also the capabilities internally. For us, it's going out, seeking these advisors, these experts, but also making sure that internally we are developing these skills so we become independent, we become stronger, and we become as experts as the one we're consulting, because it's going to be a part of the day-to-day operation. So it's kind of the focus that we have.
That's right. We'll shift to you, Constantino.
Yeah, I could not agree more with what Ramon said. I think that another important element that you need to, I think that in our experience is important, is when you go not only into the US, or Texas in this particular case, but anywhere in the world, First thing you will hear is, it is so different here and it's so complicated, right? Everybody, has a thrill of stating how difficult and how complex is doing business in their particular country when you're entering it, right? And we have learned from that experience. Brazil is a very complex market, to state just one. So the first thing is you have to be ready and prepared once more to learn every day, right? And you have to be able to be adaptive to the differences that you will find. So that's one element. So in line with that, you have to surround yourself with the best talent possible internally, and the best talent for the task, right? Internally. For example, not only extremely capable executives, but also executives that can operate in a smaller, more entrepreneurial platform than what you are accustomed to in your mothership, right?
More like a startup.
Exactly. So it's more like a startup, but understanding that you're operating within a framework, right? You can't also go rogue and do whatever you want to, right? In a new market. So that's one key element. Very capable team internal, and then from the external perspective, you have to be able to not only be surrounded by the most proficient technically, but also people that they're capable of understanding your culture, your model, and be able to translate that, right? How do we think, and how a corporate lawyer understands your company in order to be able to translate and connect the dots in a particular way. And every company is different, right? Having the ability to pick and to be surrounded by those types of support systems is critical for us. And that has been the case for us in this venture, and we continue to learn every day, right? And finally, there's another component, which is there's a technical, legal, regulatory element of it, but you also need to have people that help you navigate the culture. Cultural acclimatization to the market is critical, and that sometimes goes beyond the written elements, right?
It's totally true. We as corporate lawyers, being binational, bilingual, bicultural, gives that soft landing component to Mexican companies, because we translate not only the legal aspects, compliance, but also the cultural, the social norms, and it makes it just an easier landing.
Correct.
Okay, now let's focus y vamos a enfocarnos un poquito ahora en el impacto de la marca, el impacto sobre la comunidad, ¿no? Empezamos contigo, Ramón. In Mexico, Farmacias Similares is renowned not just as a pharmacy chain, but as a symbol of accessible healthcare. More than 10,000 pharmacies now, I believe, across Mexico. I think Chile
and Colombia.
In Colombia. It has provided affordable generic medications, facilitated millions of low-cost medical consultations. And as you establish a presence in the U.S., starting with your Austin headquarters and plans to offer over-the-counter products and health supplements, how are you adapting and preserving this core social mission, which you mentioned earlier, that there was a foundation before the actual for-profit business in a different healthcare landscape?
Yes, I think one of the most important things that, in Mexico, part of the things that made us so disruptive and successful was we were the first ones to enter the generic market. We dropped the prices almost 75%. We had the most expensive medicine in Mexico, and it was not available, and it was just for the public system. So that was very, very big. And also having the consultations and the doctor's office every time within every pharmacy. Now you can just walk in and almost with $3 you have a
75 pesos,
high quality consultation. And so that's very important. And as we come here, we are replicating this. We're being born in a different model. As you say, we're going out first on a digital model, where we're going to be setting up all this, like the pharmacy, but in an online version. And that's what we're going to do also on the doctor's office or the consultations. We're building a telemedicine platform with great technology, and part of the things that why we decided to go to Austin, and sorry, Paco, I didn't know you then, but probably we would have done something here, but no, it's the technology. So we're building this platform where we're going to be giving out free orientation, and we're going to be setting up this as we believe there is a big gap, big necessity there. And that's where we also want to participate and help, because it's not only about setting some products with the same for less, with an out-of-pocket strategy, which is also very important, not having price points that are lower, things like that, but also giving this assistance medically. So we're going to be ready to launch our platform on the last Q of this year, and we're going to be giving out, as I say, free orientation, medical orientation, and we're going to be charging just a little bit when you need a prescription, because we need to, hold on all the legal structure, all the expenses, the doctors and everything. But we're very excited about that, and we believe that is going to be a big help. And that is kind of being true to our model in this first stage where we're just entering. We believe that's a way to help more people faster and to then scale and evolve our model.
That's amazing, Ramon. Thank you for your response. And Constantino, now to you. OXXO's impact in LATAM goes far beyond convenience. Programs like Spin by OXXO, which I looked up, your digital wallet and fintech platform, and your sustainability initiatives such as energy efficient refrigeration, solar power stores, community recycling partnerships, have positioned the brand as a driver of inclusion and innovation. There's no doubt about that. As you grow in Texas, how are you translating that community-focused and sustainability-driven model, considering we're in EarthX, into the U.S. market? Are we going to see similar programs here, and how are you adapting them to the local context?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that just to frame it, FEMSA has for 135 years since its foundation, very clear statement and at its core of creating economic value and social value at the same level of priority, right? And that has been the way that FEMSA has conducted itself for 135 years. So that informs everything that we do in all of these programs. So that's one element which answers absolutely. We will be bringing the programs and the articulation of our values through our business and our retail in Texas and everywhere in the U.S. where we go, right? So, but once more, we acquire a company. The company, in this case, the DK stores from Delic. The company had already some programs running. What we do when we acquire a company is take some time to understand not only what the company does and what the people do, but also the whys, and try to go backcast and understand the rationale behind some of these programs, and then compare that to what we do, complement, change, pivot, etc., while we learn what is relevant for the community. So our programs that will unfold will be adapted to what are the requirements of that particular community. And we do that across all of our network in the world where we operate. So some things might translate specifically, some things might translate from a conceptual standpoint, but the articulation and the operationalization of it would be different, right? So we're moving towards that goal as we speak.
Perfect, Constantino. Thank you so much. And to finalize, I want to ask two questions, and we'll start with you, Ramon. Dr. Simi has made a powerful first impression in the U.S. in the last year or so, starting with brand, cultural presence, and community engagement. But what is next? ¿Qué debemos de esperar sobre farmacias similares, sobre Dr. Simi en los próximos 5 años? Lo que puedas decir, ¿eh? No.
Sí, no, well, we're very excited. We're, as I said, we're just setting up foundation. We're starting with this digital model, and we're starting with also the telemedicine, and we're starting with physical distribution. We have just finalized an agreement with Midway, I can say it, and we're going to be setting up around 2,000 pharmacies with CVS, EMAS, and all the Hispanic chain, and we're going to be focusing on the next 12 months very, very strongly on that partnership as we build the digital part, the telemedicine, and all the foundation, no? Simi Planeta, and this physical distribution. That's the first stage. We're open, and I think as Constantino mentioned, no, we're here. We wanted to be here. We wanted to be exposed, no, to the market, to the community, to the network, so that we can be very, very agile in how we build the next steps. We're very open to different formats, but this is our focus for the next 12 months.
Perfect. Thank you, Ramon. And Constantino, I like to, I had another question for you, but instead of overlapping, I want to ask you, and for companies here today.
Tough one.
No, it's based on opinion, so it should be fine. For companies here today considering the same expansion, the UX expansion for Mexico, what key lessons can they take from OXXO's entry strategy so far?
Okay, well, I'm going to sound reiterative, like my grandfather, but I think that, first of all, the biggest learning is being humble and, approaching an entry strategy with a lot of agnosticism of your previous experiences. You have to bring those experiences to the table, but don't make them a dogma, right? Be flexible of pivoting and adapting to the new reality. That's, I think, one of the biggest learnings that we continue to have every day. Second, I can't not stress this more, be surrounded by the best people possible, and the best people possible for the task, right? Understanding the task and how it differs from your previous experiences, and trying to build the best team possible internally and externally. And then the other element is you need to have strong, rigorous analysis beforehand. So make your business cases as solid as possible and your strategies as solid as possible. But be aware that these things will change from the first day. So you have to have conviction and determination to follow your dream and your ambition, understanding that you will have to pivot and move constantly across the journey. Those would sound a little bit philosophical, but those would be my recommendations, and I think they apply to any business.
Thank you, Constantino. And Ramon, would you like to add in regards to recommendations, advice for Mexican companies wanting to also follow the path of expanding to the U.S.?
Well, I like very much what Constantino said, and I think I just would add to be true to your core values, to your DNA, and then just be very, very aware of how to translate this into the market. And something that I would also like to mention is to really get here and bring your model, as Constantino was saying, but it's identifying where the connections are, how you can, like for example in the foundation for us is not just bringing what we do in Mexico, that we support like 1,200 foundations and we do that, but it's approaching them, understanding what they do and how we can join them in that mission, and so selecting where we can add value, where we can join, and where we can leverage this. And this is for the foundation, for the business. It's really I think it goes back to humility. It goes back to being confident, determined, but being just becoming part of the community, really becoming part of the community, and with a long-term vision. We're here to stay. No?
Thank you.
That's the thing.
So we'll conclude today. Ramon, thank you. Constantino, thank you. Thank you all for being here. We learned about two very successful companies entering the market. I think they've given us amazing insights on anyone wanting to follow the process. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Constantino, and thank you, Ramon. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.